Okay, tariffs are here. How are they going to affect our print on demand? We're going to talk about it this episode on Adventures in P.O.D. I'm your host, Ryan McGinnis. Welcome to Adventures in P.O.D. I am the owner of S&D Designs. I'm a self-published author on Amazon, and I'm also the owner of 217 Press, which is, for now, an Etsy store powered by print on demand. Okay, like we're talking about when I'm recording this, it is April the 10th, so tariffs are here, and they aren't terrific. In fact, they're downright tariffying. Okay, all right, no more puns, I promise. I could talk about the tariff fire. There's so many puns. I could just keep going, but I won't. We're facing the facts that a lot of print-on-demand supplies come from outside of the U.S. So when they announce these tariffs, how are they going to affect us as print-on-demand people? As a fairly new print-on-demand person, I'm kind of terrified about this whole thing. I mean, I don't know. But I wanted to take the time to read the guidelines. I was given an email by Printify, and I wanted to read the guidelines for you guys. So bear with me. I'm going to read it from my phone, which might be a little rude, but it's my show. I can do what I want to. So here we go. Let's see. On April 2nd, the U.S. government provided an update on trade tariffs. I'm gonna probably skim through this a little bit. The president signed an executive order announcing that starting from April 9th, the new tariff rates for Chinese goods will be 54%, which is wild. This includes the previously announced 20% plus the reciprocal tariffs of 34%. Now, since then, he has raised it another 50%, so that the tariff on goods from China is like 104%. That's insane. That is really crazy and scary. The president also signed an executive order eliminating the duty-free de minimis treatment for low-value $800 or less goods from China and Hong Kong starting May 2nd. De minimis remains in place for all other locations, at least for now. For additional information, yada yada. Existing orders remain in effect for Canada and Mexico. This means there are currently no tariff changes to USMCA compliant goods, while non-USMCA compliant goods will receive a 25% tariff. Starting April 5th, the U.S. will impose a baseline 10% tariff on all imports to the U.S., which will apply to all countries worldwide. And from April 9th, the U.S. will impose reciprocal tariffs on the countries with the largest trade deficits with the United States. All other countries will continue to be subject to the original 10% tariff baseline. The purpose of this episode is not to get into any of the politics of any of this. I'm strictly talking about the tariffs and how they affect us. Printify has said, for now, our prices aren't changing. When the original tariffs on Mexico and Canada kicked in, like the 25% tariffs, there were some small changes. They sent like a spreadsheet that you could go through. The products that I use didn't change, but some of them did, but for now they say that they aren't changing the prices, but they're closely monitoring the situation, yada yada yada, and so here we are. What does the future hold? I think it comes down to, in the future, it really depends. I think now it's very important to watch your profit margins. Because a lot of us cook in, when you're dealing with Etsy, there's like 6.5% fee, there's this service fee, there's this and that. And so, as shop owners, we tend to try to cook in enough of a profit margin to absorb that. Or if we do Etsy ads, we want to absorb the cost of the Etsy ad, for our product. I think it all comes down to how high you've got your profit margins set, and can your profit margins, how much can you absorb? How much can you afford to absorb as a business owner before you start having to pass it on to clients, to customers. Sorry, clients. I'm talking like I'm a website consultant, which I am, but no, as far as stores go, it's customers. And I think it's a wild ride. I actually have a friend who has his isn't a print on demand business. I want to clarify that. But I have a friend who has he has two businesses. He has a fireworks business and he does like collectibles and masks and costumes and Halloween horror oriented stuff. And the 104% tariffs on Chinese goods is going to really affect his fireworks stand, because they get like 90%, 98% of their stuff from China, and because that's where fireworks are made, and he was telling me that his suppliers had told him, he has to have his year's worth of orders in, which are usually done at periods through the year. He has to have all his years, he had to have all his year's worth of orders in before before the tariffs kicked in, so that he could get the regular price, because after that everything goes up and they can't promise anything. Similarly with his collectibles, a lot of the masks are made in Mexico, a lot of the collectibles are made in China and Japan. So, those tariffs are going to be hard for him. We sat and talked about that the other day, and it's like, we both were like, the future is very unclear, but it's going to hurt a lot of small businesses. This apparent trade war, or whatever you want to call it, that's kicking in, particularly between the U.S. and China, is going to affect a lot of U.S. based small businesses, and it's going to hurt people, and it's going to hurt their bottom line. But I really don't know what to tell you guys. How is it going to affect print on demand? Well, for now, Printify is holding the line. They're towing the line. They're saying we're not going to change prices. But they said to keep an eye on your email, because that could always change. And so I think once it starts going up for people like us, then it's going to be, it's just going to be a matter of how much can we absorb in our profit margins, before we have to pass cost on to clients. And if we have to pass costs on to clients, is it going to slow sales? My sales are already slow because I'm just starting out. So, this could be a really bumpy ride, but I guess we'll just have to all ride it out and see how it goes. And, and I'll update you guys if there's changes. And, of course I'll tell you guys, because I'm on here sharing all this with you guys so that we can do this like print on demand journey together. But I just want to make t-shirts, and before anybody, I know somebody's going to come up in the comments and probably say, hey, you can just buy you can just choose an American supplier. And I get you. I get you. The thing with American suppliers, if you haven't done print on demand, American t-shirts are way more expensive than the other t-shirts. And, the profit, the cost is more. And that's not, that has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with, production costs are more expensive in the United States. But also a lot of those made in the USA shirts, notice they say made in the USA. A lot of the raw material to make those shirts comes from overseas. And so these tariffs are going to affect that raw material. So it's going to drive up the price of the USA shirts even more. So there will come a time when prices start to creep up, when it finally catches up and Printify can't absorb the cost anymore. They're going to pass it on to us. And then we have to decide how much we can absorb, and changes will have to be made. The thing is, it's unfortunately very unprecedented times. And like I told my friend the other day when we were talking about it, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know. I think it depends on how long all this goes on. This could all like clear up and they could get it figured out, or it could go on for years. And I don't know what the future holds, but I'll keep you guys posted. We're all in this together. We'll just keep working. We'll do the best we can. We'll keep making shirts. We'll keep selling shirts. We'll keep selling products. And, and we'll just do the best we can and hang in there. All I can say about all this situation is stay tuned. And so that's the episode for this week. If you found it fun, if you found it informational, how about giving me a like? How about give me a subscribe? Hit the notification bell so you get notified when we do new episodes, and stay tuned because we do new episodes every week. So we'll see you next time on Adventures in Pod.